Hey everyone, my name's Jessie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing an unhaul because I have now reached the point where my bookshelves are full. It's time to exchange some old for some new, and I'm very excited about it. So these books I'm going to take to a local used bookstore to see if I can get store credit for them, and whatever they don't take, I'll just end up donating maybe to Goodwill or to my local library. So let's just get right into it. The first book is Red Sparrow by Jason Matthews. I gave this a try. It is an espionage thriller about a double KGB spy and an American CIA agent who kind of have this forbidden romance and relationship, and overall I couldn't get through it because of the CIA talk in it. It was such a bummer because I was really looking forward to this and I really want to see the movie. Definitely still want to see the movie even if the book didn't work out for me. It just, at the end of the day, I think that me not being an espionage thriller reader, I just got lost in a lot of the terms and the dialogue that they were using to talk to each other. It felt very much like it was like CIA talk, if that makes sense. The next book I have is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I gave this a try. It's not that I hated it, I just didn't love it as much as I thought I would. And the ending of this one, the characters really didn't leave off in a way that made me want to read more. They were very unlikable, most of them at least. I'm not going to continue on with this series. It's not one that I'm going to revisit. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't my favorite. I've also got two Christina Lauren books, and I'm really bummed because usually I love Christina Lauren. Like Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating is one of my favorites. I loved The Unhoneymooners, but my favorite Half Night Stand and Love in Other Words, both of these lean so heavily on miscommunication as being the main obstacle and the main conflict in these books, and I can't stand miscommunication. Both of these are friends to lovers, and usually that is like right up my alley. I love reading about great friends that become lovers, and for me, it could have been resolved, both of these could have been resolved with just an honest conversation between the two main characters, and this entire book would have been shortened down to like 50 pages because so much of it dragged on just because these two characters could not be honest with each other, and it drove me nuts. So unfortunately, these didn't work for me, but I will still be checking out future Christina Lauren books. All right, this is probably a more unpopular opinion, and I have nothing against these books, they're fine. It's the entire Caraval, whatever, however you pronounce it, this entire series. To be honest with you guys, I just wasn't a huge fan. All of these were 3 stars for me. It's not something that I'm gonna revisit in the future. I thought Caraval was probably the strongest of the 3 because of the atmosphere and the mystery behind it, but Legendary and Finale just really lost me. I didn't care about the romance in this book, and the writing style wasn't my favorite, so I'm gonna say goodbye to these, and hopefully they'll find better hands because it's a full set, it's hardcover, they're in great condition, so hopefully someone will pick these up and love them. The next book I have is a recent read, and that is Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. Again, this one just didn't work for me. I know a lot of people really like it. I have also seen a lot of reviews that don't like it, so I think I'm definitely more in the don't like it camp, but it wasn't bad. It just, for me, I didn't care about any of the characters. I really didn't care about anything that happened in this book. The magic system, while it had potential, just didn't really live up to that potential. I just wasn't a huge fan of the execution. The world building also had a lot of potential, so I can see why people love this book, and I'm not gonna recommend you don't read it. I still say give it a try if it's something that's been interesting to you, but for me, the characters just did not connect at all, and I just didn't really care. Next book is Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross, and again, very middle of the road YA fantasy. I gave it 3 stars. There was nothing wrong with it. There were some concepts that felt very unique, but for the most part, it was a very forgettable read. It just didn't do anything to stand out in my mind with all the other YA fantasies that I've read. So this one, not gonna reread it, not gonna continue on with the series, but it's not something that I recommend against reading. So again, if you are a huge YA fantasy fan, this is still like an okay book. It just wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. These next 2 are a little bit of a bummer, and that is These Rebel Waves and These Divided Shores by Sarah Rosh. So I went to a signing with Sarah Rosh, Kristen Simmons, and Mary E. Pearson, and they were great. I really liked going to that signing, hearing more from them, but when I went to read These Rebel Waves, I liked it. However, the second book in the series, like both of these, I totally forget what happened. Like I don't remember really anything at all. I can't tell you one name of the character. I can't tell you what happened in the plot at all. I think it was something with pirates. So again, it's just forgettable YA fantasy that just didn't do a whole lot to stand out in the crowd. This is a very, very crowded space right now, just YA fantasy in general. So unless you do something like extraordinary that's really going to make you stand out from the crowd, I am just going to forget it. I don't know. So again, these are not bad. If you liked Sarah Rosh's other trilogy, I think she has that Snow Like Ashes trilogy, give this a try because it was good. I remember liking it. I just really, I'm not going to reread it. So again, this is a nice hardcover set that someone will hopefully pick up and love. I'm gonna sound like a broken record here because the next book is Mirage by Sumaya Dodd. Not bad, very middle of the road, 3 stars. It didn't do anything wrong, it just didn't do anything great. Another like YA sci-fi slash fantasy. It had a really cool premise. So this one I do remember a lot of it because it was a recent read. But this one, the premise behind it is there is a princess of this like galactic empire or something, and the princess is so hated by her people that they find a body double, like another girl who lives in poverty looks exactly like the princess, so they kidnap this girl and whisk her away to the galactic empire kingdom thing and she actually has to train to be the princess's body double. So again, really cool premise. If that sounds really intriguing to you, then I do recommend picking this up. Just for me, was a little forgettable. That's all. It just didn't do a whole lot. And again, it focused on a romance that I just didn't care at all about, and I'm tired of romance being such a heavy focus in a lot of these books. So this is definitely a good book, one that a lot of people are gonna love. It just wasn't for me. All right, let's get into some thrillers. So for me, thrillers are really hard to keep around because once you've read through them once, it's like you know what happens, so you don't want to read them again. The first one is Her Every Fear by Peter Swanson. I liked this, but it wasn't anything spectacular, and I remember the twist, so it's one that I'm not going to read again, and I know that other people really like Peter Swanson, so maybe this will be attractive to someone who is searching for a new thriller book. I've also got Watching You by Lisa Jewell. I really like Lisa Jewell's writing style. I actually really enjoyed this, but again, I'm not going to reread it. It wasn't spectacular. It's not like one of my favorites of all time. So again, someone else can find this and enjoy it. It is not bad. I actually do recommend this if you like quiet domestic thrillers. And then we've got The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth. This one I think was miscategorized as a thriller. I do not think that this is very thrilling. I think it's definitely more of a character study. It's like a mystery kind of contemporary book. Family dynamics are examined, and this is, for me, not a thriller. So it was kind of slow, kind of boring. I wasn't a huge fan, but I did think the character work was really well done in this. So again, not something I'm going to reread, so hopefully someone else can pick this up and really enjoy it. So that's all I got for you. Those are the books that I'm going to be unhauling and hopefully getting new books that I love even more. Again, with my last unhaul, I said this and I will say it again. I want my bookshelves to reflect my taste in books. So any book that you see on my shelves, I want that to be a book that I really enjoyed. So I try not to keep books around that I just felt middle of the road about or I didn't like. I really want to be able to point to every single book on my shelf and recall reading that book and loving it. And so that is what I'm trying to do with these unhauls, is make room for more books that I will potentially love and will become favorites. Today's Booktuber shoutout is going to go to one of my favorite booktubers, and he is actually a part of my book club. I love chatting with him. His humor is killer. It is so funny. That is the Library of Allenxandria. So he is a really big, high, epic fantasy reader. He's actually doing a read-through of Malazan right now, and that's really fun to watch his progress through those books, because even though I'm not interested in Malazan, I like hearing about other people reading it. So he's awesome. He also reads a lot of fantasy that is more underrated. So if you're looking for more underrated fantasy recommendations, I highly, highly recommend Ellen's channel, and he's just delightful. He is so funny. So if you just need a good laugh or you need a smile on your face, go watch his videos. He's great. Can't recommend his channel enough. So thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I release new videos every Monday and Thursday. And until next time, bye.